Still the MMA Dude, back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 105, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, man?
Doing excellent, Phil. Happy to be back talking fights with you. How are you doing?
Doing well. We are glad to be back. I know that we missed last week. Sorry about that, folks, but we are back and better than ever. Here's what we've got going on tonight. First, an opening question for Fight Geek. Then, a quick UFC Vegas 29 Korean Zombie versus Ige recap and review. After that, it's a UFC Vegas 30 Volkov versus Gane preview and picks. And then after that, my favorite section, listener questions and more. But Fight Geek, I want to start off the show with this question for you about the PFL event this last Thursday. Rory MacDonald fought Gleison Tibau. Gleison Tibau won by split decision in an extremely controversial fight where many pundits scored the fight 3-0 for Rory MacDonald, and at the very least, nearly everyone that I've seen on Twitter or otherwise has said that Rory at least won 2-1. What were your thoughts, and how did you score that fight?
Yeah, man, that was one of the worst, decisions I've honestly ever seen. I thought it was insane, and like you said, at worst, 2-1 Rory. I think Rory faded a little bit, obviously took a little bit of damage because Gleison was throwing heavy shots, but technically and from, applying his game plan from start to finish, thought he clearly won that fight. He was landing a variety of kicks, had the cleaner footwork, I was baffled by that. What about you?
I was equally baffled. Personally, I thought that Tibau definitely had his moments, don't get me wrong, but I scored that fight 3-0. Rory, okay, I could definitely see a case for 2-1, but anything other than that, no way. Sorry. Rory MacDonald won that.
Early on in that fight, I felt like Rory was cruising. So, I don't see a case for Gleison winning early rounds. I think Rory began to fade a bit and became defensive and is moving away a bit. And that's probably that's literally the only thing I could point to was that, he ate a couple heavy shots, had some visible damage, and late in the fight was evading action. But in the majority of the first 10 minutes of the fight, Rory was able to land a variety of kicks and really control the range and make Gleison miss the majority of his power strikes. So
now, do you think there's any credence to it? There's been a little bit of conspiracy theories going around. I know that Chael Sonnen was talking about this on his show earlier today, that Rory or someone on his team received a mysterious text message the night before saying to finish the fight or he was going to lose. Do you know anything about this?
No, and I hadn't heard that. That's
This is from Chael Sonnen. I'm looking it up online right now, and I can't find anything else, but Chael certainly said it.
Yeah, well, Chael has a tendency to just let some things fly, so I don't know how credible that can be. He's also, Chael's really clever with the way he gets his clicks, so...
Sure. Okay. Well, in any case, even Tibau, we'll finish here. Tibau said that even he was very shocked by the decision. That's when you really know that something's crazy. So I guess my final question is, do you think this was just judges' complete incompetence, or was this something a little bit more nefarious? Something that perhaps Chael was talking about, something nefarious had happened.
Well, again, I'm not going to be the guy who sits up here and says something's nefarious, but Rory MacDonald did not lose that fight according to the modern rules of MMA. So I'm not sure how that happened, but very confusing.
Yep, absolutely agree. Okay.
And it just sucks too because we're talking about people's legacies here. Rory MacDonald stacking wins at this point of his career is important for him. I know he's still in the playoffs and yada yada, but as far as legacies and resumes go, now he has a loss to an older Gleison Tibau on his record. And you know how things like MMA Twitter and work, now all of a sudden Rory sucks even worse, when in reality he was the much better fighter for the majority of that fight.
Right. Well, I don't know how much we should be concerned if MMA Twitter in this very moment, what they think of Rory.
Know, but it's just,
it goes up and down with the days.
Guys who legitimately have, very impressive resumes get dragged through the mud because they take a loss via bad judging.
Absolutely. Okay, are we ready to move on to our UFC Vegas 29 Korean Zombie versus Ige recap?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sweet. Okay, so let's just start off with the beginning of the main card here. And I was very, very impressed with Matt Brown. Can we just talk about him quick? The immortal Matt Brown with the TKO right cross against Diego Lima at 3 minutes and 2 seconds of round number 2. At 40 years old, Fight Geek. 40 years old, this dude.
Yeah, I mean, Matt the Immortal Brown, legend of the game for sure. This was actually, I think this was a very good opponent for Matt Brown at this point in his career, and he capitalized on it. So sets him up for something interesting next. I really think Matt Brown versus Nick Diaz could be the fight now that Matt Brown has put a little steam together.
Ooh, I love it. Now, and I didn't love it before, but you're right. Now that
that Matt Brown, you could put a highlight package together with Matt Brown, melting Lima and Diego Sanchez and have it be a very winnable fight for Nick to come back to. I think that's the fight to make now. But again, love Matt Brown. Matt Brown is, his story is unbelievable. If I'm not mistaken, he died and came back to life from a drug overdose, correct?
I believe so. I think that's why they call him the Immortal.
It has carried a certain intensity about him from, the beginning of his career on, and that I think people really enjoy. Legend of the game. Definitely a guy who's got some momentum, who's worthy of fighting someone like Nick Diaz at this point. So
I agree with you for the record. I think that's the fight. Let's just do it. I say that's the fight.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just moving on, looking at this card, really quick, wanted to touch on Sung-Woo Choi with that left hook, ground and pound TKO at 1 minute and 37 seconds of round number 1 against Juliana Rosa. This was impressive, Fight Geek. What did you think?
Absolutely. But, I will say temper your enthusiasm, because Juliana Rosa has a very killer be killed mentality. The guy takes a lot of shots from a lot of different guys. I knew this was a possibility. But yes, of course, Sung-Woo Choi was throwing very crisp and very hard strikes. A very impressive guy, but Rosa has a tendency to just, get lit up. So
what do you think of this fight next? Choi versus number 15, Alex Caceres.
Yeah, I like that fight. I think Alex Caceres is just cracking the top 15, I believe, for the first time in his long career. So I would assume he would be looking for a higher reward fight than someone like Sung-Woo Choi, who's extremely dangerous and somewhat unknown.
That's true. I like Caceres. Maybe you can tell me if you disagree, but just looking at the top 15 featherweights, besides Alex, all respect to Alex, actually. He belongs to that 15 spot. 14 to champ is pure killers. Nothing but killers.
Insanity.
So I don't see Alex getting a win against any of the people above him. No way.
Yeah, all the more reason to capitalize. Well, he's right there,
Good point. Okay.
Lose his spot to someone like Choi.
Good point. Okay. Moving on real quick. Marlon Chito Vera defeats Davey Grant via unanimous decision. Didn't love the fight, but it was impressive, right?
You didn't love the fight? That wasn't this fight of the night?
Was it?
I don't know. I thought this fight was pretty good. They went back and forth. I know Marlon kind of controlled it late, but
I think I was upset because I had a prop bet on. I think I had bet Marlon to stop him.
Oh, because there was a lot of violence in this fight. Marlon Vera's elbow split Davey Grant open.
How did Davey survive?
He's tough as hell.
I was annoyed, but no, you're right.
Yeah,
maybe I'm being harsh on the fight
because I think Marlon Vera can put damage on you for a smaller guy. He is a very aggressive, violent type of fighter. A big reason why he's been one of my favorites for a long time. So, credit to Davey Grant for being extremely tough and to survive that, because I thought Marlon Vera looked great.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. Do you think, do you have an opponent in mind for Marlon Vera next? I want that Sugar Sean O'Malley rematch. Am I the only one?
I mean, you could do that, but I think you could do something more interesting. How about Marlon Vera versus Cody Garbrandt?
I think I mean, this is a whole different conversation, Fight Geek, but I strongly feel that Garbrandt should go down to 125. I mean it.
Well, potentially, but with that being said, isn't Marlon Vera a smaller bantamweight anyways?
I believe he's a little bit on the... Yeah, I don't think he's a giant bantamweight. That's fair.
So, and while he is violent and kind of puts a lot of variety on you, a la Tony Ferguson, he's not a one-shot knockout artist. So I think Cody Garbrandt, would be, somewhat clear there. But I don't know. I think that's an interesting fight. I would actually favor Marlon Vera over, 15 to 25 minutes for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, very fair. Moving on, Sergey Spivak defeats Alexei Oleinik via unanimous decision in the co-main event. This was a little impressive and frankly a little surprising, I think. I didn't see this coming myself.
I picked Oleinik. I always expect him to, be in trouble early and then kind of find his way grappling. The fact that he never did with Spivak kind of shows you this is a changing of the guard type fight. Maybe Spivak's a young player in heavyweight, and Oleinik's finally kind of taking that turn.
So, is it just me, or is the UFC just? It feels like every single other fight night main event or co-main event is a heavyweight fight in the top 15. I feel like they are keeping those guys so busy.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I just think I actually don't know why there's so many heavyweights, but there are.
Yep. Okay,
All
so
right, let's keep it moving on to the main event.
The main event,
Chan
Sung Jung. Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, defeats Dan Ige via unanimous decision. Goes all 5 rounds. Ige falls to 15-4. Korean Zombie climbs to 17-6. What'd you think of this performance, Fight Geek? I was impressed as the Korean Zombie kind of turned back the clock.
Yeah, I was impressed as well. I didn't necessarily think he turned back the clock as much as, he's maturing. He's learning how to implement a game plan. The fact that he went back to the grappling multiple times.
Well, that's why I say it was vintage Zombie, is he used his wrestling and his grappling to get the better of Ige.
True, but when Zombie was younger, he was very, kind of go wherever the fight went and was great everywhere, but would prefer to strike. This fight, I think, he caught a couple clean, crisp shots from Dan Ige, who's an unbelievable boxer, and then just decided early that, coming off a knockout loss, it would be better just to get a decision win and implement, his strengths over Dan rather than take his chances, because if Dan had a shot in that fight, it was certainly on the feet.
Yep, absolutely.
I think distinctly, I remember Dan Ige hitting Chan Sung Jung with an uppercut, I think in the second round, and you could almost see the thought process of the Korean Zombie. He kind of took a step back and was like, I'm not going to be taking many more of those. And then, from there on, really, got to his wrestling and stayed there.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I think as I've mentioned on this show multiple times, the Korean Zombie, back when I was first learning about MMA through World Extreme Cage Fighting in my Uriah Faber hardcore fanboy days with him fighting, Mike Brown and all that stuff, Korean Zombie was another one of those guys. He was like maybe I knew about Faber, then I loved Aldo, and then I loved Korean Zombie. Like, it was those 3. So, he's one of the oldest, I've been a fan of his since, the very beginning of me watching the sport. It's always great to see him win. I love the guy. And what was so nice to see about this win, Fight Geek, is you saw some really high fight IQ from TKZ, right? Korean Zombie, he wasn't just standing there. Like you said, he's getting hit a little bit. Hey, I can take this guy down. I'm that's enough to win this. Let's get the W, and I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still getting better. I think if obviously it's not as exciting when he fights like that compared to his Zombie style, but as he's aging and in the top 5 in one of the most competitive divisions in the world, it's not the worst thing in the world to use your experience, your IQ, and just knock out not or get past fights like a Dan Ige, because that's a trap fight that can really set you back. But he did a great job in just keeping it moving and getting on to the next fight.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so are we ready to move on to UFC Vegas 30, Volkov versus Gane preview and picks? Excuse me.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so moving on to our preview and picks for UFC Vegas 30. By the way, love the poster for this, right? It's not a bad poster.
They've improved recently, huh?
I think so. I've noticed that as well. So let's start off with the first fight of the main card. Hanetto Moycano versus J Herbert. And as a reminder, this is a lightweight bout, 155. What are you thinking?
J
here?
Herbert.
What is it?
J.
What did I say?
J.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, J Herbert.
Anyways, I like this fight. I think it'll definitely be a contender for fight of the night. Should be good action. I'm taking Hanetto Moycano via submission.
Ooh, interesting. I've got Herbert via TKO third round.
Ooh, it's gonna be a fun one though. Herbert is very athletic striker, and obviously Moycano is very good.
Absolutely. Moving on, Nicholas Dalby versus Tim Means welterweight bout.
This is a tough one for me because I love Tim Means, but I have a tendency to lean Dalby here. I just think that he's going to be the bigger, stronger, fresher guy. Think he'll be able to implement his game plan a little better.
I annoyingly agree with you. I've got Dalby by unanimous decision.
But I do think Tim Means is live here, obviously. But, yeah, I'm leaning Dalby.
Yeah, I mean, folks, don't bet on this fight, okay? It's too close. Don't bet on it. Is that fair to say?
I would say so.
Okay, Andre Touchy-Feely, that's still the best name in the sport, I'm sorry, versus Daniel Pineda, featherweight bout. Let me go first, because you keep picking them.
All right.
I think that Andre Touchy-Feely is going to get it done via stoppage here. Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. I've got Feely winning. I just think it'll be via unanimous decision over 3 rounds.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on, Roni Barcelos versus Roni Barcelos. I knew I was screwing that up. Roni Barcelos versus Timor Valdez. Who you got?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. 16-1 versus 17-2.
Yeah, that's what a fight, right? I mean, those are some records. That's a fun little fight.
For sure. I'm leaning Timor Valiev here. How about you?
I'm leaning Timor Valiev by split decision.
Should be fun, though, definitely.
Absolutely. Moving on to the co-main event. OSP, Ovince St. Preux versus Tanner Boser. The always fun Tanner Boser. Very colorful personality on him.
Ovince St. Preux, the hardest fighter in UFC history to predict.
Seriously. He's either getting an amazing submission against a top opponent, or he's getting knocked out by a journeyman, frankly.
And now he's going back up to heavyweight versus Tanner Boser. So, I mean, the question marks are literally everywhere. So, with that being said, I got to lean Tanner Boser here. I think that the longer the fight goes, I think he'll probably be the quicker hands and maybe even have the better cardio to Ovince. So, Tanner Boser via 3rd round TKO.
Give me OSP via Von Flue choke.
Nice. Okay.
I'm serious. That is my pick. We'll see.
I know. That's what I want to happen, but.
Yeah. We'll see. Guys, do not bet on OSP fights. Hopefully you know that. If you don't know that, you have a gambling problem. Okay.
All right.
Alexander Volkov, main event, versus Cyril Gane. Volkov versus Gane. Why don't you start us off, Fight Geek? Who you got and how?
Yeah, talk about a hard fight to pick.
This whole card's
go
hard.
with Cyril Gane.
Mm-hmm.
Gane. I think that I think they're both going to be, fighting from distance. I think Gane has the athletic advantage. I think it'll be, probably a split decision over 5 rounds.
Yeah. Like you said, what a hard fight to call. I'm going to take another. This might be this might be really a disastrous week for my picks because I'm kind of going against you on some big fights here. I think Volkov is going to get the win by decision, and I think it's going to be a split decision, but I think Volkov's going to get it.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's going to be razor close, and it's going to be technical. So it's not a bad fight, actually.
No, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not a bad fight. And obviously, if Volkov isn't able to at least somewhat, keep the takedowns from, if he's not able to keep things standing for the most part, it's going to be a really rough night for Alexander.
Yeah. You think so?
I think that Gane is obviously such a talented and unique ground fighter, right? So that's what makes him unique at heavyweight. He's obviously undefeated, but I think that.
Yeah, I think his movement though and his jab on his feet makes him a big problem too. So I think I see a lot of the fight playing out there. But you're right. I guess we'll see.
Oh, I think Volkov definitely has a strong, I would almost say a strong advantage on the feet. Is that not fair, or is that a stretch?
I think he's gonna have the advantage on the feet, but sometimes we've seen Volkov, still get, hit. I know he doesn't have Gane doesn't have Derek Lewis power, but he's good to getting in and out, and he's quick. So
yeah,
I think he'll be able to hang there. But yeah, Volkov's clearly very good on the feet.
Absolutely. Okay, so does that wrap it up for our UFC Vegas 30 preview and picks?
I believe so.
Okay, folks, we'll be right back after this with our listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 105, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section of all, and that is Listener Questions! So, Fight Geek, I'm doing a thing. I just gotta say, I'm being a little more quiet about it because I've actually gotten a few friendly notes, I won't say complaints, from some great listeners saying that they get very startled by my screaming of listener questions. And I don't want to startle people.
All right. Well, should I turn the horn down?
No, don't turn the horn down. No. Right. We got to keep, hey guys, we got to keep you on your toes a little bit. Come on. Right. Okay, so listener questions and more. Do you have one lined up, Fight Geek?
I don't. Go ahead and find one.
I love how he always just assumes that I have it lined up. Okay, yes, I do. All right, this comes from our man, Zan Bando, one of our Split Podcast OGs. Cannot say enough great things about him. At ZanBando99. Guys, be sure to give him a follow. He says, welcome back once again. I've got 2 questions this week. 1, have you ever considered recording the Split Decision Podcast from a UFC venue site? I think would give the show some flavor once the world opens up. 2, will MMA ever have a streaming service with every promotion? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Okay, so let's take that first question first. Consider recording from a UFC venue site. That I don't think we have. We've certainly considered doing like live fight companions. Right. And I think we're gonna do a fight. You know what? Let me go on the record. We're gonna do a fight companion in the next 6 months. Boom! I just said it. We're gonna do a fight companion in the next 6 months.
It's just so, Yeah, where we just kind of talk through a fight as it's on a Saturday night.
Yeah, we're going to do one next 6 months.
Yeah, we'll do one of those for sure. If people want us to do that, we'll do that. I think we also tried to coordinate getting to a couple UFC events together, even if we weren't going to record there. But yeah,
COVID obviously put a big...
Anything's a possibility.
Yep, absolutely. Anything is a possibility. I like that. Number 2, will MMA ever have a streaming service with every promotion? This is an interesting one. So short answers, and probably not. Every promotion, there's so many promotions. And I don't know if, I can't tell if Zan's asking if there's going to be one single streaming service that covers all the promotions. In that case, definitely no. But even to say, well, different streaming services carry every promotion, I still think the answer is no.
Yeah, I think the promotions keeping their own product behind their own paywall makes too much sense for them. That's their commodity. They want you to have to go to them to get their commodity rather than put that out anywhere for people to just consume.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so it's fair to say, Zan, that unfortunately I don't think that it's looking bright on getting every MMA promotion streaming, but I certainly wish it were. Okay, so this question comes from our man Matt at Gogo Safa. Love this guy. He's a great guy. He's an OG. Definitely give him a follow if you guys haven't. At Gogo Safa MMA. He says, "Greetings, Phil and Mr. Fight Geek. Tough 29 is turning out to be quite thrilling thus far. I'm curious to know which team would you be if you were on the show and why." Well, I'll start that off. Isn't Volkanovski's team down 0-4? So I think I'd be on Brian Ortega's team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely lean Ortega's team, obviously for the success, but also just kind of the style of coaching. Yeah.
I confess I've only actually seen the first episode, guys. I know I'm bad. You can yell at me. Fight Geek, have you seen more? I saw the first episode, and I don't know. It just didn't. I'll catch up.
Why do you have to put me on the spot here?
All right, bro, because they're asking me, and I just admitted that I've only seen one.
I've seen a couple episodes of it, but I'm recording it. I'm going to go back and catch them all, I promise.
Yeah. We both will. Okay, so love that question, man. Thank you for the question. All right, next one comes from Split Podcast OG, Eduardo at Landa Crew. He says, "What are some of the craziest MMA conspiracies you guys believe in? #AskSplitPod." Wow, what a great question, Eduardo. That's a great one.
Yeah, it is a great one, and it's really hard because I'm not really into conspiracies, so...
That's such a fun question, though. What a great question.
It is a fun question.
Well, I guess...
Dig deep for something.
Sorry?
I said I'm trying to dig deep for something.
So what about this? I mean, let's start with this Rory McDonald fiasco with Gleison Tebow. I got to look into this more, but it sounds like Rory's team is claiming they received some kind of mysterious and anonymous text message that they want investigated. This is per Chael Sonnen on his show You're Welcome, but it's all very odd. Again,
yeah, that would be a crazy one.
I'll give you another.
Right.
There's a big rumor that John Jones popped for steroids again, and that's why there's this actual 2-year delay of his career.
You probably started that rumor.
I definitely didn't start it, but I've definitely helped fan the flames. No, I'm kidding. I didn't fan the flames. I don't believe it, for the record. I don't think it's true. You like that, everyone? Huh? You like that?
I'm on a blank.
Do you think it's true? Do you think there's any chance of that?
Of what? Sorry.
You don't think it's possible
my brain for a conspiracy.
You don't think it's possible that Jones popped and that's why he's on this weirdo 2-year break?
I do not believe that.
I don't either.
I'm drawing a complete blank as far as conspiracies that I believe in. Sorry, man.
All right. Thanks for bringing your all to the show.
Conspiracies that I believe in. You want me to make one up? That I
I'm just kidding, bro.
I don't know.
No, I'm kidding. Okay. So this next question comes from our man, another Split Pod OG, Jacob Powers. That's at Jacob Powers 2. Love Jacob Powers. Jacob, what up? He says, hashtag #AskSplitPod. How do you think prime Henry Cejudo would do against Volk and Petr Yan? These are fun.
Yeah, these are great, and prime Henry Cejudo, I think, does very well against both of them.
Both of them?
I think he'd do well against both of them. Henry Cejudo, I think he would beat Yan. Clearly, Volk would have a size advantage, but I like Henry Cejudo's overall skill set better than Volk's, which means I would, at least make him live in that fight. So, yeah, I'd like his chances. Plus, I think that Henry Cejudo is one of the great gamers. The one thing about Volkov is we haven't really seen, or not Volkov, Volkanovski, that we haven't seen is him really have his back against the wall and, show a champion's medal, at least not to my knowledge, in the way we have of Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo has been in some tough spots and come back and done very well. So I can trust his ability to adapt as well. So, yeah, I think Henry Cejudo in his prime does very well.
Hang on, just to be clear, are you telling me that Henry Cejudo in his prime, whatever that means, I mean, he's in his prime now, he quit in his prime. He's in his prime. So, but are you telling me that you're picking him to beat Volkanovski?
No, but did you not just hear me explain why I think he would be...
You're saying he's doing really well. He would do really well. Yeah, I was listening, yeah.
Yeah, really well. You don't think Henry Cejudo could win a couple rounds and not get finished by Volkanovski and see, a decision?
I don't know. I think it sounds tough.
Volkanovski's not known as a finisher.
Well, that's true. He finished Chad Mendes.
Yeah, well, why would it... Henry Cejudo, let's just say, has the defensive wrestling to stay on the feet if he wanted to. Probably enough offensive wrestling to make Volkanovski uncomfortable and would be the much quicker fighter on the feet. So he would have ways to survive. I don't think it's like throwing him to Francis Ngannou or something. I mean...
Well, it's definitely not that. Yeah, it's not like executing him.
Petr Yan, if Henry Cejudo was still fighting in his prime today, I think he would be still holding that belt.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so do I. Look,
when Henry retired, I thought he was arguably the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
I agree with you that Henry beats Petr Yan. I think you got to put a little bit, look, I don't even like Petr Yan.
I said Volkanovski wins. I just said Henry Cejudo possesses enough skills to see the final bell. I don't understand why that's so
okay, that's fair. No, that's fine.
Controversial.
That's fine. That's not that controversial.
I think that's doing pretty good against the current belt holder.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was going to the Yan fight. I think I don't even like Petr Yan, but give him a little respect. I mean, he was dominating Aljamain Sterling, just dominating him, right? So I think he would give Cejudo certainly a fight.
Oh, no doubt. I'm not saying to blow the doors off, but Henry Cejudo showed quite a bit in his short championship.
It's crazy that he retired and I think he's going to look back on that in 10 years and really regret it. But maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see. He's still got a lot of time to come back, so.
Yes, and he never shuts up about it, which is good for all of us, I guess.
Which is strange.
Yep, it's like he never left. Okay, so moving on to what I believe is our last question. This is coming from our man, Split Podcast OG, Dean Dog. Guys, give Dean a follow. That's at Dean, DAWG3. He says, if you could wave a magic wand and it would happen, what fight would you make right now? Hashtag AskSplitPod. As always, peace, guys. Much love.
So to be perfectly honest with you, Nick Diaz versus anyone is the fight I would make. Literally just want to see Nick Diaz in there. So that's one always.
I totally disagree. Jones versus Ngannou is the only answer here.
What fight would you make right now? Jones versus Ngannou? Well, all right. Are we talking about like from a rating standpoint or just personally what you're interested in?
I personally want to see Jones get brutally slept by Ngannou.
Yeah. My second choice would be Justin Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because I think Gaethje still has a rightful claim as the number one contender, considering he just lost to Khabib the same everybody else did, more or less. So I think he presents an interesting challenge to Oliveira, and I think that fight would be fun, like the Michael Chandler fight.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is, look, that Gaethje Khabib fight was interesting because no one remembers, but for much of that first round, it was the most uncomfortable I've ever seen Khabib in the octagon. I mean,
For
seriously.
sure. That's the word I was going to use when I mentioned this is that say whatever you want about that fight, but Justin Gaethje made Khabib uncomfortable for a short time, which we hadn't seen.
For
So,
basically a full round.
well, and he was kicking the living hell out of his leg too. So,
Oh yeah, no, and that's why at the start of the second round when Khabib just kind of started, basically just totally rushed him. I mean, I think you could tell that he was at least kind of thinking, I can't take too many more of these.
yeah, it was one of those things, kind of like I mentioned with Korean Zombie, where you could see the thought process on his face after
Yep.
taking one or two.
Right.
So,
Right.
oh, not to get too sidetracked here, but I know there was some rumblings about some leaked text messages and Justin Gaethje retiring and yada yada. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. So it's true. So a training partner of his basically started blabbering to just some MMA journalist or really just MMA fan about Gaethje and about how disappointed he was from losing the Khabib fight, and he's probably going to retire soon. First and foremost, I cannot begin to say how much gym code that breaks. Like even I know that, and I'm not even an amateur MMA fighter. I've been at MMA gyms and I've been lucky enough to train with them, but I'm not even an amateur. And I know the rules of you do not talk about what happens in the gym. You just
Well,
don't.
how about just like translating that someone's not doing well without them knowing it? You know what I mean? Just kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that you just don't do. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he did that. And then, actually, Gaethje did come out, I believe, and say that the guy was lying and that he has no intention of retiring, which was good to hear because Gaethje is way too close to that belt to retire. So I was happy to hear.
And he's in his absolute prime as one of the best action fighters in the world. We love Justin Gaethje.
We
don't
really
wanna
do.
lose
We
him
really
anytime
do.
soon.
And I respect that he took, let's remember, when he won the interim belt, he threw it on the ground. He said, no, I'm coming for the real one. So I respect how hard he took the loss to Khabib, especially sort of in the way that it happened, right? I mean, he was just so helpless on the ground. I'm sure it was very beyond devastating, but that just makes me kind of respect the guy more, to be honest. He wants to be the best, and he doesn't just want the belt. He wants the belt through beating the best opponents, and you've got to tip your hat to that.
100%. So yeah, glad to hear that he came out and said that. But yeah, I would love to see Oliveira versus Gaethje. I think that's one.
Yeah, who would you have in that, by the way? Because that fascinates me. Obviously, Gaethje has the huge advantage on the feet, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
Charles is, very sneaky on the ground. And, if anything, the Gaethje Khabib fight kind of showed that Gaethje's a little helpless on the ground.
Well, I don't think you can say that because the only person who's ever made him look like that is the greatest grappler who's ever graced the octagon.
Okay.
So it's not like he was
Okay, fair.
exposed because he was exposed by Khabib. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It would be
Fair.
a large assumption to assume that Charles Oliveira possesses the kind of strength to minimize Gaethje like that, considering no one ever has. I think that would be contested on the feet, but where I kind of disagree with you is Charles Oliveira on the feet can present problems. He's getting very precise and sharp.
Yeah, it's
mean,
true.
you
I
think
mean,
about
he
the
looked
way
a lot better on the feet against Chandler than he did, he'd ever had before.
Yes, but he had been making progressions on the feet. You had seen him getting much better. And now, I mean, he's clearly one of the elite two-way fighters with jiu-jitsu and striking, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait. I do predict, though, I mean, not to get too far off track, but don't you think the UFC 264 winner of McGregor-Poirier 3 is going to fight Charles next almost for sure?
Yeah, but this is my magic wand question.
Correct. That's true.
But yes, that is who is going to fight the winner, I'd assume, heavily.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do we have any more questions, or is that it?
Yeah, I actually have a couple from Instagram.
Nice. Okay, excellent.
So this is from MMA by Milliken. He
What
says,
up?
What if Derek Lewis beats Ngannou and Stipe? Question mark. He's got 2 questions. You got any thoughts on that?
What if Lewis beats Ngannou and Stipe?
Yeah.
If Lewis beats Ngannou and Stipe, I will change my Twitter cover photo, aka background photo, to whatever that gentleman wants for 1 year.
Well, I know, but what does that mean, like, legacy-wise?
That's supposed to be a big deal. Why did you undercut that? Okay, never mind. No, I think it would be huge. That would be huge, right? Because the thing is, if Lewis beats Ngannou, let's just start right there, okay? Ngannou's down to Derek in the head-to-head 0-1. So the funny part here is, if Lewis somehow beats Ngannou, is Ngannou like locked out of a title shot? I mean, it sounds crazy, right? But
for a while, right?
It sounds crazy, but it seems possible.
Listen, though, Derek Lewis would be the all-time knockout leader in UFC history and a heavyweight champion. So what does that do to his legacy? Does he become a top 4 heavyweight all time? Top 5 heavyweight of all time?
Probably. I mean, heavyweight, right? It's not...
Derek Lewis, prime Derek Lewis versus prime Tim Sylvia. Who you got?
Prime Derek Lewis.
Prime Derek Lewis versus prime Orlovsky.
Ugh. Prime Orlovsky?
Yeah, I'd lean that way too. Prime Brock Lesnar versus prime Derek Lewis.
I think prime Brock Lesnar.
That would be so interesting.
I don't know. These are all great fights.
And here's one more. Prime Derek Lewis versus prime Frank Mir.
Prime Derek Lewis?
No, prime Frank Mir.
No, I know what you said.
No, I'm saying prime Frank Mir by, submission.
Right. Yeah. Lewis is tough to submit, though. He's tough. Remember the Olenek fight?
Yeah, well, remember what Frank Mir did to Big Nog?
Yeah, good point.
I mean, Derek Lewis is the type of guy that Frank Mir would have ankle locked in his prime.
Yeah. Okay, it's probably true.
I think Frank Mir is one of the most underrated heavyweight champions of all time. I know he had a lot of mixed results, but when he was good, he was unbelievable, and he used to snap people in half. I
know. I mean, full disclosure, I think maybe what's perhaps tinted or affected my view of Frank Mir is I had the pleasure of seeing him live at the Bellator event when they had the heavyweight Grand Prix. I saw Fedor Emelianenko versus Frank Mir live in Chicago, Illinois, and saw Fedor just destroy him.
Yeah, but that's way after the fact.
That's true. It's very true.
So yeah, fun question. Second part of his question is, if I can find it again. Okay. Also, when Juliana Pena loses to Nunes, should she go back to flyweight, retire, or become a baker or analyst?
Okay, I have a serious question. I'm not trying to be a smartass. When was she a flyweight? I didn't even know that.
Maybe she was a flyweight on The Ultimate Fighter when she debuted. I don't remember.
Wait, was she on the Nico Montano season? No.
No, way before that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. No, that's what I thought. That's why I said it in such a surprised tone.
Well, I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. I didn't know that Juliana Pena was a flyweight, frankly. Honestly, news to me. I thought she was a bantamweight who was always kind of floating around. In fact, the way that I kind of view Juliana Pena, whether it's fair or not, is she's kind of literally the final standing figure of some kind of, that's somewhat well known.
It looks like she hasn't been a flyweight since 2013 and never been a flyweight in the UFC.
So. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. So I don't even think she can make flyweight.
I wouldn't think so at this point.
Maybe she can. Who knows?
Maybe she can.
Yeah. Who am I to say whether she can or can't? But
no, I don't think she should retire. At this point, I think she's got a nice gig as an analyst. I think, she's only basically a once-a-year fighter right now at this point of her career. So, she's still a top 6 or 8 girl in the division. So why not stick around, fight once a year, and stay relevant for as long as you can? It's not like she's fighting 3 times a year versus killers.
So here's my serious. Let's just let's just talk about this really quick before we get to the next question, because I'm curious, Fikey, because this is interesting to me. Let's say Nunes beats Pena, and then I believe there's a fight coming up. I know it was made. Hopefully it wasn't canceled. But Aspen Ladd versus Macy Chiasson. I believe that's still solid. I'm guessing that's going to be a number one contender fight. So let's just say that Nunes beats Pena and then beats the winner of Chiasson versus Ladd. On a serious note, who else is there? I feel like it's like she has cleared the field completely.
Well, she has. I mean, at that point, you're hoping someone like Yana Kunitskaya can put together 2 or 3 wins just to be another title defense, because until a new crop of girls come up, I don't see one who's going to contend with Amanda Nunes. I mean,
and Nunes, and by some people saying, GDR3, she's not fighting GDR a third time, everyone. And by the way, she doesn't need to. She's 2-0, and she's not going to do it. So forget it.
No, I mean, at this point, I'm sure that Amanda Nunes is probably about 3 fights away from retirement.
But if you're her, why? Why retire until you lose? Just keep packing up the money.
I'm sure the competitive fire is going to eventually burn out. But what I will say is there's younger girls who could come up quickly. I think Miranda Maverick and Macy Barber both might end up being bantamweights.
They don't have anything for Amanda.
No, they don't. But, in 2 years, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I would still favor Amanda even 2 years from now, but those are girls that look like they could get, big enough to go up to bantamweight and both show some level of promise. So who knows?
Yeah, I just feel like Amanda's she's honestly, it's so impressive. She's getting very, very close to having truly cleaned out 2 divisions.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. And relative speaking to the male champions, she's climbing the ranks as a UFC champion as far as a dominant champion. She's one of the top 5 most dominant champions to ever grace the UFC at this point.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And I was very glad to see her get her much-deserved nomination at the ESPYs for Best MMA Fighter alongside Rose Namajunas, Francis Ngannou, and Khabib Nurmagomedov. Did you see that?
I did not see that, but
those are the 4.
Well-deserved, but yep. Francis seems a little out of place on that list. But
yeah, I think, it seems a little bit like they kind of cold-shouldered Israel. I don't know. Or you could also say Kamaru, actually.
Yeah, I'd say Kamaru there.
Kamaru's more deserving than Israel. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. Okay, cool. Any more Instagram questions?
Nope, that does it.
All right. So before I hand it off to Fikey, guys, if you are not subscribed, if you could hit the subscribe button, if you're listening to this on YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes most likely, if you could give us that quick 5-star review, it really, really helps us. So hit subscribe, give us that 5-star review. We really appreciate y'all. And Fikey, with that, take us away.
All right, guys. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.